YouTube, it's time for a pop culture update. I call them just because it's all games, videos, music, yada yada, movies. This one's got a little bit of everything. First up is a book I finished reading. I'd read one in this little kind of, I don't even want to call it a series, but theme, I guess. This is called The Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view. I was going to say from a different, no, from a certain point of view. I did read one that's based on the original A New Hope Star Wars movie. This is the next one in line for the Empire Strikes Back, obviously. What it is a bunch of authors have contributed short stories that take place during that movie. Sometimes involving a main character, sometimes involving a very minor character you may only glimpse during the movie, and sometimes involving a character you don't even see in the movie at all. It's just somebody that's kind of made up, but it takes place around the events of the movie and stuff. So, like, it obviously starts off with stories based on Hoth. So, and it's not just humans too. Like, one of the stories from Hoth is from the point of view of the Wampa, and how the rebels kind of took over their space and how they dealt with it and why they're so angry. Besides the fact that they are indeed monsters. One of them, the Ion Control staff of Echo Base, are running a pool on when exactly Leia and Han are finally going to get together, right? So there's some kind of humor to it as well. And then you get out to when they get out to the asteroid field. One of the stories is from the point of view of the giant asteroid worm, or whatever you call it, the space worm that lives inside the asteroid that they flew into, and what those creatures are all about. Some of the Empire's top officers that perish, like Admiral Ozzel and those guys. And then, of course, everything ends in Bespin and Cloud City when you hear a bunch of stories from that area. Some of them are like the Ugnaughts as they try to escape when the Imperials take over. Lots of escape kind of stories from Bespin, like when you hear Lando's command to evacuate Bespin, Cloud City, because the Empire has arrived. You hear that message repeated over and over in the various stories, because there is a lot of escape stories. Two of my favorite stories, actually. One of them's from Dagobah. It is kind of when Yoda first got to Dagobah and he was exploring it, and it was from the point of view of the cave. Whatever that entity that lives inside the cave that Luke went into and saw Darth Vader, but it was his face in the mask and everything. It's kind of from the point of view of that entity, and you never really know what it is, but it notices Yoda's arrival and their interactions and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. And the other one was, I think it was a stormtrooper that defected during the invasion of Cloud City, and as she was trying to escape and get out, I think it was a stormtrooper, she kind of stumbled upon Luke and Darth Vader's kind of lightsaber duel in that whole sequence when Vader confronts him and tells Luke he's his father and all that stuff. So she's kind of like, whoa, backing up and like, let me get away from this, and wondering just exactly what is going on here. Like, there's that Skywalker kid, but what's Darth Vader saying to him? And it's like, sounds pretty important, and like they're gonna take over the galaxy together. Like, it was a really neat story to just kind of what a moment in Star Wars history to just kind of barge in on by accident and kind of witness, right? Like, one of the most pivotal moments, right? So that was kind of cool. Next up is a couple movies. First one is called Get Hard. Get Hard is a 2015, I believe, comedy starring Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart as the two main characters. Will Ferrell plays James King, who is like a wealthy Wall Street guy who makes millions of dollars a day with the trading and all that stuff. And unfortunately, he goes to jail, or is sentenced to 10 years in prison for embezzlement and stuff like that. And the judge gives him 30 days to get his affairs in order before he goes to jail. So he gets in touch with a guy named Darnell, who runs a car wash in the parking building that he frequents when he goes to work. And assuming Darnell has been to jail before, he pays Darnell $30,000 to get him hard so he can go to jail and not die and become somebody's bitch and all that stuff, right? So Darnell has in fact never been to jail, but he's like, I need the 30 grand because I live in a shitty neighborhood, my kid goes to a shitty school, and I need this money, right? So he puts him through all these different scenarios and and whatnot, to try and get him hard. And meanwhile, he has no idea kind of what he's talking about, right? So he has a cousin that has gone to prison and is a bad guy. So he kind of gets him involved as well. But it's just kind of this comedic sequence of events that Darnell puts James through. Along the way, though, they end up discovering that James King, he's like, I'm innocent, I didn't do this, I've been set up, but they don't know who. Throughout this, they figure out, oh, it was the guy that runs the firm, Martin, who like James thought looked at him as like a son, as he is going to get married to his daughter as well. But it's all been a setup sort of thing. And so they find this out, and instead of trying to get Will Ferrell hard, or James King hard for jail, they end up shifting their focus to catching Martin and clearing James's name and having him avoid prison, and in fact make the proper people go to prison for this crime. So Will Ferrell. You can't go wrong with Will Ferrell. It sounds like this movie wasn't all that well received, even though it did very well at the box office. So, but I don't listen to that bullshit anyways. If it's a Will Ferrell movie, it's at least going to be entertaining. It may not be Anchorman or whatever every time, but it's still going to be pretty awesome. You know, a lot better than most other comedies you're going to watch, right? So I always say yes to Will Ferrell.